All right, today we will be finishing up the equal values method and then moving on to substitution as well. So make sure you're following along in your notes, and then you'll have a homework assignment to do after this. All right, so with the equal values method, remember that we were looking at problems where if they are both equal to the same value, like these are both equal to y, then we can set the other parts of the equation equal to each other, right? And we were able to solve for x in doing that. And the only other part that's left is solving for y. And the way we can do this is because we found what x is 2, we can go back to one of our equations and plug in 2 for x. This is not a new concept for us. We've done this before. So if we took this equation, y equals 2, and then instead of x, we're plugging in a 2, and remember to use parentheses when plugging in, and then the rest of the equation plus 3. So that's going to be y equals 4 plus 3, so y equals 7. Okay, so we can do this with all the problems. We can go back to A, x was 6, so if we plug that into this equation, y equals negative, and then negative 6 plus 16. A negative and a negative become a positive, so this is y equals positive 6 plus 16. Or I'm sorry, I'm not plugging in negative 6, I'm plugging in positive 6. So this is negative 6 plus 16, so that y equals 10. Okay, so that's the same thing here. We can finish up these problems here. If we solve for x, we get 2, and then we can plug that 2 into one of our equations. It doesn't matter which one. Y equals 2 plus 1, so y equals 3. And then over here, we can plug 3 in, again, to whichever equation that we want. So y equals 3 times 3 plus 2, y equals 9 plus 2, and y equals 11. Okay? So again, it's the same, so on, so on. Let's go on to our new method today, solving using substitution. So our first method was equal values method. Equal values method. Okay? And the second method we're learning today is called substitution. Okay? So in a problem, actually these are warm-up problems. You don't need to do those right now, okay? And we're going to skip past the word problem at the moment. Substitution, you are replacing a variable with a different expression that it's equal to, okay? Notice how in this kind of problem, you couldn't use equal values method, right? One of them's equal to y, one of them's equal to 4x. Those are not the same thing. So we have to use something called substitution. Notice how this y is equal to 4. So whenever we have a y, we can just replace it with 4. That's substituting in a 4 for y. So we have 4x equals 25 minus 2, and then we're replacing y with 4. Okay, that's the substituting part. So then we're going to have 4x equals 25 minus 8. 4x equals 17. And then this one's going to get us a decimal. So 17 divided by 4 is 4.25. And then when we're solving for y, y was 4. And that's all. That's substitution. So let's try this one. This time, x is negative 3. So whenever we see an x, we're going to replace it with a negative 3. So we'll have 2y plus 3, and then we're plugging in a negative 3 and the rest of our equation here. And then we can simplify. 2y minus 9 equals 5. I can add 9 to both sides and get 2y equals 14. And then divide both sides by 2 and get y is 7. And then they already told us what x is, negative 3. Okay? Now, this problem is similar. This problem is similar. This problem is similar. But I want us to look at this problem right here. Okay? Notice how y is now equal to this entire thing. Okay? It's still a substitution, but we're going to be plugging this entire thing in for y. Okay? So we're going to have 5, but instead of times y, it's going to be times this entire thing, right? This entire thing is getting replaced. And then the rest of our equation, plus 3x equals negative 13. Okay? And then right here, this is distribution, right? We need to distribute the 5 to both the negative x and the negative 7. So this is going to be negative 5x minus 35, and then plus 3x equals negative 13. I can combine the x's to get negative 2x minus 35 equals negative 13. Add 35 to both sides, so negative 2x equals 22. And then divide both sides by negative 2, so that x equals negative 11. And now, in order to find y, if my x was negative 11, I'm going to take this equation and plug negative 11 in for x. So I have y equals negative, instead of x, I'm plugging in negative 11, and then writing out the rest of my equation. And negative 11 is just a positive 11, so then y equals 4. Okay, so that's kind of the hardest a substitution problem is going to get. The rest of these are similar, okay? I want you to take a moment to finish the rest of these problems. Okay? And then we will go through quickly what the answers are when I am back on Thursday. Okay, so you're doing C, D, E, G, and H. And then the last thing, once you're done with that, or if you want to come back to that part after this, we're going to look at this word problem here. So Ariel bought bags of caramel candy and taffy. The number of bags of taffy is 5 more than the number of bags of caramels. Taffy bags weighed 8 ounces each, and caramel bags weigh 6 ounces each. And the total of all of them is 400 ounces. Okay, so we still need 2 equations here. Okay, and before, our equations have been about like one equation about one guy, another equation about another guy. But here it's just one person. So the 2 things we could make an equation about are the number of each type of candy. And it looks like the other thing we have going on is ounces. So maybe the weight of each kind of candy. That's going to be each equation. So here we have that the number of taffy bags was 5 more than the number of bags of caramel. That's a weird way to say that. We should just say that we bought 5 more taffy bags than we did caramel. So an equation we could write, well, first of all, let's say that T is for taffy and C is for caramel. Okay, and what we can do for our equation is we bought, in terms of taffy, that was 5 more than the amount of caramel we bought, right? 5 more, so that's where that 5 is coming from, and then of caramel. So taffy, 5 more than caramel. That's our first equation. And then our second equation that we can write is about the ounces. We've got 8 ounces, 16 ounces, 400 ounces. Taffy is 8 ounces each, so we can do 8 times T for the taffy. And then caramel is 16 ounces each, so we can do 16C. And it says they all add up to 400. So there's the plus. We're adding them up, adding up to 400. And those are the two equations. And then obviously this is a substitution problem where we can plug in 5 plus C for T. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to write our purple equation, but instead of T, let's plug in 5 plus C, right? We're substituting T with 5 plus C. And then we'll finish the rest of our equation, plus 16C equals 400. And then we can distribute that 8. So we get 40 plus 8C plus 16C equals 400. We can combine those C's. So 24C plus 40. Subtract the 40. 24C equals 360. And then 360 divided by 24C equals 15. So 15 bags of caramel. And then, because taffy was 5 more than caramel, that means 20 bags of taffy as well. Okay? So again, make sure you go back and finish these problems, and then your homework is going to be 4.1.2. You can also do 4.1.1, okay? That was yesterday's that we didn't get to, so those are the 2 homework assignments you can be working on.